Hi guys, guess what we're making today? We're making cheese fondue just in time for all of your guests to show up at your house, or if you just want something really indulgent and delicious. And it's so easy. This took me all of 5 minutes. So, shall we get started? This comes together in just a matter of minutes, and you won't believe it. It has that Gruyere fondue flavor. And it'll become a guest favorite. So I'm starting out with 2 cups of cashews, and I have a cup of white wine. So take your pick, whatever you want to use. Has to be good enough to drink. It doesn't have to be the best wine. And then I'm adding a 1/4 cup of refined coconut oil. Make sure this is not virgin. You don't want that coconut flavor, but for some reason, the coconut oil gives it not just the mouthfeel, but it creates that fondue flavor. It's really, really weird how that works. So I'm adding a 1/4 cup of that. I've got 2 tablespoons each of light miso and nutritional yeast. And that's going in there. And then I'm gonna add some water. I've got a cup of water here. I'm gonna add about a half of it to start with. And this is odd, but if you want a little bit of tang, what you're gonna do is add a tablespoon or 2 of sauerkraut juice. And that's going to make it a little cheesier than without it. Okay, so now I'm going to just blend this up. All right, I'm going to give this a taste. You can add a pinch of salt if you like. I didn't add any because we added miso, which gives it a little bit of that salty flavor. If you want a little bit more, you can. And now I'm going to light my stove, and we're going to get that in here into my old fondue pot that's been around for, gosh, decades. Now, if you don't need to have one of these, this has a little stand that it sits on. And so you can put a little tea light underneath it, a little candle underneath it, or a votive, and you can keep your fondue nice and melty. Otherwise, it gets kind of too thick. All right, so you want to make sure you don't burn it on the bottom, so you've got to stir it constantly. And then to give it that stretch, we're going to add some tapioca, but I don't like to add it until the very end because I don't want it to be too thick. I could just have blended it together, but then if it gets too thick, I got to add too much water to thin it out. So I got my bowl here. I have 4 tablespoons of tapioca in here. I'm going to start out with maybe half of that, and we're going to dilute it with the other half a cup of water I've got. Handy dandy chopstick, give that a stir. We're going to add that at the very end once the fondue gets piping hot. If it starts getting lumpy, where some of it's cooking and some of it's not, you can just whisk it all together. Remember, I've got the heat on fairly low because I don't want to burn it. See the lumps there? Now, cashews thicken up on their own because they're high in starch. It's not the stretchy starch of tapioca, which is why we're going to add that to give it that stretch at the end. Okay, it's nice and thick now. It's a little too thick. I'm probably going to dilute it, but we're going to add the tapioca first. That's 2 tablespoons. I'm just adding that to give it some stretch. Give it that cheesy stretch. And then we can adjust how thick we want it by adding some more water or wine. Now, the wonderful thing is if you aren't into alcohol, and I drink less and less myself these days, I'm really into non-alcoholic beer. There are organic wines now that you can use. They're not as good as the non-alcoholic beers, in my opinion, but I think you can cook with them. All right, so now, ooh, look at that. Getting stretchy and cheesy looking. I'm just going to thin it out just a little bit more. So the amount of tapioca, start with about 2 tablespoons, and you can add more if you like, if you feel like you want it thicker or stretchier. Oh yeah, look at that. Ooh, that looks like cheese fondue. Are we ready to dip and eat? Now, if you like, you can add a little bit of nutmeg. You could add a little bit of Kirschwasser, which is also traditional. At the very end, I believe they add a little bit of Kirschwasser, which is cherry liqueur. I don't have any, so we're just going to keep it like this. All righty. Does that look good? Great. All right, let's give this a try. Well, the truth is in the eating, so let's give this fondue a try. Ooh. Mmm. It's so gooey. Tastes like a melted Swiss cheese. It's so good. Now, if you want to keep this hot, put it on a stand, have a little votive underneath it. I'll keep it nice and hot, or you can put it in a crock pot. Oh my God, that is so good. I gotta have another piece. Just dip. I'm just doing bread today, but you can do little roasted potatoes, broccoli, asparagus, have a whole platter around it, and have a party. So enjoy. Thanks again for joining the Vegan Good Life with Miyoko, and I want you to go and have a fondue.
And maybe another bite.
Okay. I can't eat all this.
Got some on your chin.